Hi guys, this is part 7 of your TSI review, geometry. Oh yeah. So you might want to take a little bit of notes on this. So just keep in mind right here we have things that are important that we must discuss. The Pythagorean theorem. I'm pretty sure you all have seen it before. You have a squared, which is one of the sides, whatever length that is. B squared, the other leg, and all of that should be equal to c squared, which is our hypotenuse. Now that is the Pythagorean theorem. We'll discuss how to use it in just a bit. And here's some formulas about squares, rectangles, triangles, and circles. Let's talk basic ideas so you guys can make sure you guys understand. This S is for sides because squares have all sides to be the same. So that's what we say S squared, which is kind of like the rectangle, the length times the width. Just that in squares, they're both the same. Right? Triangle, BH divided by 2. What is that? The base. I'm going to draw a triangle right here. The base and the height divided by 2, which is basically the legs, right? And the circle, right? You have a circle. We have the radius. That's our R, right? And pi. What's pi? You should know. If you need to estimate, pi is approximately 3.14. Right? Then we also have the perimeter functions right there. All right. So that being said, let's get to it. Boom. Here are some examples. You might need help. That might help you with your assignment for today. If one of the legs is 4 centimeters and the hypotenuse is 5 centimeters, what is the length of the other leg? Well, first of all, we must put the stuff in our picture now. Right now, I gave you a triangle here. Sometimes they're not going to give you a triangle. You're going to have to draw it yourself. But that's perfectly fine, right? So if one of the legs is 4, let's say this one's 4 centimeters. The hypotenuse is 5. The hypotenuse is this one over here. What is the length of the other leg? I want to find this one. And let's call it x. So we know that a squared plus b squared is equal to c squared. Our a, let's call it 4. Plus our b, we don't know that one. That's the one we're calling x. X squared is equal to c squared is 5 squared. And basically we have to solve for x. 4 squared is 16. 5 squared is 25. Solve for x. What do we do? Well, let's get rid of that 16. Minus 16. 25 minus 16 is 9. X squared. How do we get rid of something squared? Square root. X is equal to plus or minus 3. Right? Now, keep in mind, since we are talking about length, there's no such thing as negative length. So my only answer here is x is equal to what? 3. Does that make sense? Don't forget, every time we undo a square, we got to do plus or minus. Now, in this case, we're creating a shape. There's no such thing as negative distance, negative length. Right? So that is the way to do it with numbers. Now, over here, we're going to do an example with variables. All right, so that we can see the big picture if you're ever into this situation. If one of the legs is x centimeters, let's call this x, and the hypotenuse is y, what is the length of the other leg? Let's call this b. So we know it's a squared plus b squared is equal to c squared. Our a is going to be x squared. Our c is our hypotenuse, which is y squared. This is very important that you put in the correct location, right? The hypotenuse is always by itself on one side. Now b, we're going to call it b squared. So we're solving for b. What do we do? Same idea as we did before. We got to get rid of that x squared, so minus x squared. We end up with y squared minus x squared is equal to b squared. How do you get rid of something squared? You do the square root. Whatever you do to one side, you do to the other. B is equal to plus or minus square root of y squared minus x squared. But because we're talking about distance, there's no such thing as negative distance. So our answer is only b is equal to square root of y squared minus x squared. All right, so now let's look at this next type of question. Find the area of the shape. Area. So when we have situations like this, what we do is we break it down into different shapes. And I'm going to break it down like this, okay? I'm going to create a triangle here, right triangle, boom. I'm going to create a rectangle that's long and a small rectangle. 3 different parts. All right. So let's start with the easy one. Let's start with this one. What is the area of this rectangle? Well, we know that the area of a rectangle is 8 times 4. Length times width. So what is our length times width here? 8 times 4, which is what? 32 centimeters squared. All right. Now, okay, what is the area here? Now, I don't know if you could see it, but when you cannot see the shape of it, one nice thing that we could do is draw the shape on the side and kind of make those connections. So we know this side is 2, but can you figure out what this side is? And now, let's make some connections. We have a 3 centimeter here, so this part here is 3. From here to here is 8. So guess what? That whole length is 8 plus 3, which is what? 11. So 11 times 2 is 22 centimeters squared. All right, now let's do the triangle. I'm going to draw a triangle here too, just so that we can see the big picture, because sometimes we get confused. And we know that to find the area of a rectangle, a triangle, it's the area is equal to the base times the height divided by 2. Right? So this is the base. And then this is the height. So we need to find those two things so that we could actually find the area. So let's go ahead and look for that. So we're looking for this part here. How can we find that? Well, guess what? That's the same as this. So our base is 8. What is our height? Well, it's this part here. And we know that all of this side is 10, right? So if all that's 10, and this is 4, and this is 2, 10 minus 4 minus 2 is 10 minus 6, which is equal to what? 4. So now we can find the area of the triangle. What is the area of the triangle? Well, 4 times 8 is 32. Divided by 2 is 16 centimeters squared. So our total area in this picture would be the sum of all three. 32 plus 22 plus 16. So 32 plus 22 is 56 plus 16 equals, 54, not 56. 54 plus 16 is 70. Right? Whoa, now we have the same idea, but with variables. So we have to do the same idea, break it down. Right? Here is our two rectangles, right? So we need to go and find the area of this. I think the first one, big one right here, is simply and simple. We have our length times our width. So 18 times 6. What's 18 times 6? I should say 18x times 6x. So it's going to be x squared, right? 108 x squared. So now we got to find the area of this part here. So I'm going to draw a rectangle right on the side so we can kind of break it down, right? If this whole thing is 8 and this side here is 6, 8 minus 6 should give me this little spot here. 8 minus 6 is what? 2x. All right, so now I need to find my length. Well, guess what? It's kind of the same idea what we did right now. This whole thing is 18. All right? You with me? We need to go ahead and figure out. Oh, no, we don't. We already have that this is 10x minus 4, right? This is already 10x minus 4. Now we have to multiply that out. Now, let's go ahead and rewrite it. Multiplication so that we don't make a mistake. 2x times 10x is 20x squared. 2x times negative 4, it's negative 8x. So there we go. The area of this is 20x squared minus 8x. We add both areas together, right? Let's go ahead and add them up. 20x squared plus 108x squared is 128x squared minus 8x. Boom. That is the area of the shape. Now, these type of problems right here. Area of big shape minus area of little shape. Okay, you look at the pictures down below. Look at this here. You see how there's a big rectangle and a square inside? This one's a big rectangle and inside is a little rectangle. Usually we have situations like this. It could be a circle, it could be a triangle, but it's the same idea, right? Sometimes you want to find the area of the shaded part, and we have to basically do this. Area of big shape minus area of little shape. The big area minus the little area. Over here, we were adding the areas. Down here, we're going to subtract the areas. So let's check this out. Claudia is building a square garden in the middle of her backyard. If her backyard measures 8 by 7, so this is 8 by 7. Like I mentioned before, sometimes they're not going to give you a picture. You got to draw it yourself. I gave it to you this time so that you could see it. And one of the sides of the garden measures 4. Now, keep in mind, this is a what? A square garden. So the big rectangle minus the little square, right? So how do you find the area of a rectangle? Length times width. So 8 times 7 is 56 minus, this is a square, so 4 times 4 is 16, or 4 squared. 56 minus 16 is 40. Boom. That is the area of what? The shaded portion. Or like in this problem, that is the area that's not being used by the garden. Okay. Now, find the area of the shaded area. Forgot to write the numbers down. Let's go and write them down. Let's say this is 2x and this is 3x minus 5. And this is x minus 1 and x. Okay. Find the area of the shaded area. So once again, we need the big rectangle minus the what? Little rectangle. So how do we find area? You multiply length times width. So I'm going to say 2x times 3x minus 5 minus x times x minus 1. And then we do the math, right? Here we go. Let's do the math real quick. 2x times 3x is 6x squared. 2x times negative 5 is negative 10x. And then negative x times x is negative x squared. Negative x times negative 1, negative times negative is positive x. Combine like terms. 6x squared minus x squared is 5x squared. Negative 10x plus x, negative 9x. Boom. Hopefully this helps you and it brings a lot of memories back. Have a great day.